Oh man, how do I start this? I'm madder than a hornet right now because I got scammed on eBay for what I suspect is a mining GPU. So, you know, I'm trying to put together a budget gaming build, and one of the affordable graphics cards that's out there is a 1660 Super. I got a good deal for one. I thought it was a decent deal on eBay. Supposedly open box. The seller, I don't know what kind of business they run, but said that they had put it in a customer's computer and then they changed their mind. So it's basically like new. So I go ahead and buy it, and I get it. I've had it for a couple weeks now, 2.5 weeks maybe, and I just got around to building the PC, yesterday, or I guess the night before now. Um, so I haven't actually tested it. But I opened it up, took it out of the box. It looked great. You can see my unboxing video on my YouTube channel, and I even made a mention in there. I was like, well, this is either actually like new, or they took it apart and cleaned it really well because it was mint looking. And this seller has 100% positive feedback on eBay with over 1,600 feedback received. So I thought, oh, it's got to be good to go. So I open up Heaven Benchmark, and I've got Afterburner open, and I'm just running it, you know, stock, trying to see what it'll do. And it won't boost above the base frequency. The core clock was stuck at 1530. And I'm like, well, what in the heck? And so then I start playing around, and I boost the core clock, I boost the memory clock. Um, Nothing will budge. Like the settings in Afterburner change, but it won't actually budge. Well, that's when I realize that it's only pulling 0.73 or 0.74 millivolts. And I'm like, that's really weird. It should be boosting up to zero point 0.9 something, 1.0 something millivolts while I'm pushing it, and it's stuck at 0.73. So I'm like, God, what could be wrong with this? I mean, that's like drivers or so. So I like double check, go through them. All my Windows stuff is updated. My drivers are updated. Everything, like software wise, is on the up and up. So I go down the rabbit hole on the interwebs. And turns out, and then this clicked, and I'm like, oh, shoot, that it probably had the VBIOS flashed. Well, why would you flash the VBIOS on a 1660 Super to run at base clock speed and limit the voltage? Well, to mine on it, of course, so you keep the temperatures down and keep from frying it, hopefully, right? So I'll say that at least if it was mined on, they had the stuff turned down, so hopefully this isn't a total flaming pile of dog doo doo. But yeah, so I open up GPU-Z, and I'm looking for the BIOS version that's on there, and looking at what the clock speeds are. And there's a little button you can press on there. You know what? Here, I'll just open it up. We'll exit out of Fortnite for a second. Um, so I should have taken a screenshot. I don't remember what it said here for sub vendor, but it didn't say EVGA. And for the device ID, it had this first part, the 10DE21C4, but after the dash, it just repeated this number, like this sequence again. So I was like, okay, that's not right. Well, so then I go on Tech Power Up, and I search for this is an EVGA 1660 Super SC Ultra. Well, there's only two VBIOS even available on there. Um, so I compare, where is it here? See, the BIOS version is right here. Okay, .86. The one that I had was .28. It was 90.16 point something else 00.28. Well, none of the drivers, at least none of the EVGA drivers, were that. So it didn't. So I knew right then it didn't have the factory VBIOS on it, and that was my issue. Um, it also had the default clock and the GPU clock were both set to 1530. The memory was 1700, not 1750, and the boost clock was like 1785, I think. But it, like I said, it wouldn't actually boost. It was just stuck at 1530. And then when I hit look up, now I'm curious if this changed or not. Of course it did. Look at this. I should have taken more screens. See that when I put in what is it? EVGA GTX 1660 Super SC Ultra, it pops right up because that's the VBIOS I have on it. These mother it it came up with three different cards, none of which were EVGA. It was like two pallets, PALIT, and something else. I went and I got NV Flash and I downloaded the correct BIOS. And I've never done this before. I've never flashed a VBIOS before in my life, so it took me a long time to troubleshoot this and figure it out, and then to get the command prompts right and get it to flash. Um, but it did flash. It flashed no problem. And so I started it up, and I went from. Let me show you here. Um, make sure I didn't dox myself there real quick. Yeah, there's nothing there that you can't see. So let me go into my pictures. So this, oh, let me turn what I set my hotkey to. So this was my result um, when I ran Time Spy. And then after I updated, is this the one here? 5390. Yeah, this is then after put it I put it back to the stock settings. See, I hadn't figured out yet what was going on here. This one was with some overclock settings applied that I didn't think actually took. Then I just reset Afterburner and I got the 5390. And then when I put the new BIOS on, look what I get. That's just stock with the appropriate BIOS on there. So this one was with some fake overclock settings that didn't seem to do anything, but apparently they did hold me back. Because then when I put it, what am I doing? When I put it back to stock, I got, oh, it went away. I got that one. And then with the appropriate VBIOS, I got that one. And then with a 100 megahertz boost clock, I got that one. So I went from that to that in Time Spy just by putting the appropriate BIOS on with a tiny, tiny overclock. I didn't even touch the memory, just a little bit of boost clock. Under 5,000 to 6220. I'll tell you what, man. Anyway, I'm trying to get over it. I've filed some complaints with eBay. Um, I don't even really care for myself so much because I got it fixed. I got the right VBIOS on it, and it seems to be running good. The fan does make some clunky sounds here and there. It's whatever. I'm just trying to show what a 1660 Super can do. I think I've got it tuned up where it's going to be running fine to do that. But this guy has, I don't know if it's a guy or not. This person has 100% seller rating on eBay, and almost assuredly, well, I know they have another 1660 Super for sale right now, and they've got a 1660 Ti for sale, or was it a 1080 Ti? I forget now. They've got two cards for sale, and they've sold other cards. So either they're a liar no matter what, because they either sold me and are selling these cards. Like if mine is frigged up, the rest of them probably are too, right? I mean, I don't know that, but what are the chances? I don't know. The person is either selling them as open box and just unawares that anything is going on, which means, and this is the best case scenario, means that they know they're not open box and they're lying about that, but they don't maliciously know that they were mined on or that the VBIOS is different. Or option number two, they know daggone good and well that the VBIOS is modified and that these cards were mined on, and they're just selling them, like whatever. A mined card is not necessarily a bad thing. Um, Especially this one. If this was mined on and they had the voltage locked at 0.73, like it's probably fine. But you have to disclose that when you sell it. And for goodness sake, put the factory VBIOS on there so that, some unsuspecting mom or dad is going to buy this, potentially for their child and put it in their card, or some 16-year-old is mowing lawns, to save up money to buy what they can get, or somebody's just on a budget, a really tight budget, and this is all they can afford. And, not only do they get a mind on card, but they don't even get the correct VBIOS in it, so it doesn't even run how it's supposed to. It just, I don't know, man. Just, I hate scammers. Don't scam people. Just, you know what? You want to sell a mind on card? Just disclose that and put the correct BIOS back on. That's it. Okay, I'm done.